What was it like playing for Coach Switzer and, and maybe what he meant to your career? I know he had very high praise for you, said in an interview that you were the greatest football player he ever coached, I think at your College Football Hall of Fame induction. But what's your thoughts on Coach Switzer?
Well, well, he was actually there. He was the offensive coordinator when I came in as a freshman.
Okay.
And I think I met him, on my visit. And that's it. And, to be honest with you, he had absolutely nothing to do with my coming to the University of Oklahoma. But he had everything to do with my development as a person, a young man, an athlete, a football player, a running back. I mean, his influence on me is, it's higher than Mount Everest, to be honest with you. And we're friends to this day. And if you would have told me I'd be friends with a coach other than my dad and his staff, in Port Arthur, for 40 years, I'd say I don't know about that, but he's a father to me. He's a father figure, a fantastic coach, and he's one of those guys that understand people, and to understand people you have to take the time to know people. So I wouldn't be where I am at this particular point, without him, being in my life.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, and I want Kelly to jump in, but we interviewed Coach Dave Campo, who was on Jimmy Johnson's staff and then stayed with Coach Switzer when he came to the when he came over to the Cowboys. And Campo just put it like this: he said, "I was on Jimmy Johnson, and it's nothing against Jimmy Johnson or anything, but I was on Jimmy Johnson's staff back in Miami. So, and they coached together for like 10 years or whatever it was, all through the years." And he said he never knew my kids' names, never knew one of my kids' names. And within 1 week with Barry Switzer knew his whole family and knew his kids. He was always asked about it. It's just different styles of coaching. Jimmy Johnson, that was just the way he was built. But Barry Switzer just seemed like he took player's coach, is that what they like to call it? But he just took a personal touch on your life and your family.
Well, you know what? For the most part, when people say, players coach, the first thing they say, oh, well, gee, he gets along with the players and, he's lackadaisical. He doesn't have many rules or whatever. Well, Coach Switzer was just the opposite. He had rules. He was tough. Our practices were tough. And for the most part, what made him, I would say, the player's coach is the fact that he approached each individual as an individual. Mm-hmm. He had all the, you've got rules and you've got to have rules, but he handled each one for each situation in that particular person. So therefore, you get to know that particular, person, how to handle him, what makes him tick, what sets him off. And, you just have to approach it to the point to where, hey, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to the team. I'm not talking to you about the team rules. I'm talking to you as an individual. Yeah. And I think, that for the most part, makes him a lot different than most coaches. And, he isn't willing, he isn't afraid to, turn things over to his people. He always says, hell, if they weren't capable, I wouldn't have them. So let's make sure, we let them take care of what they need to. Hey, now here's the one thing. When I was at Oklahoma, mm-hmm. all of our coaches, mostly, all of our coaches, if they wanted to, they had their own radio show. Not just the head coach. The head coach didn't just have it. The assistant coaches, if they wanted one, and if someone approached them, hey, he was all right with that.
He didn't have no issues with that.
None with that. That, and, hey, he knows, he understands that you need a good foundation to be able to last, mm-hmm. In this particular business. And you've got to have it thick, and you got to make sure that it's solid, and you got to understand and know who it is.
Yeah, no, I agree.
and I talked to Greg. He showed me around on my visit. And the one thing Coach Mosley told me, said, you come to Oklahoma, you have the opportunity to do this, that, and the other. Of course, play on television, this national championship conferences, all those things that, really, a kid, looks to have. And he said, you will have a opportunity to play in the same backfield with Greg Pruitt. And that's when my antenna went up right there.
Mm-hmm.
Which meant, because freshmen were eligible for the first time in a long time my year at Oklahoma. So that, really, rang my bell. The fact that, having the opportunity to go to a, great university and have the opportunity to play with fantastic people, skilled people. And one other thing, probably the deciding choice was this. During that particular time, all the teams, you hadn't transferred, color schemes and shoes to white just yet. There were a few people that wore white shoes. The whole team at Oklahoma wore white shoes. And I'm telling you, hey, not only did the players and the linemen, the receivers, the linemen, I mean, everybody wore white shoes. The coaches, the staff, everybody. And I'm thinking, my goodness, well, there won't be any problem me wearing, white shoes there. So that's like a real good. That looks like a real good place for me to be, because it looks sleek, and especially when Oklahoma would wear all white.
Yeah.
And then the white shoes too. Oh man, that was just hey, the uniform looked just so sleek and fast. So that had that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
If you go back, you go back and look at some of these films back in the 70s, and you will not see any other team in 1972 wearing all white shoes. So that had a lot to do with it, plus the fact, like Coach Mosley said, chance to be on television, win conferences, championships, win All-American honors, and just all those things. Get a chance to get an education, and I always felt that to go to a university, the one thing you've got to do is make sure you're happy in your football environment.
Yeah.
It's up to you, alone to make sure that, you get your studies and that you're able to graduate. They're going to provide, all of that for you to help you graduate,
Yeah.
But you've got to make sure that you are comfortable and you feel good in that football environment, because if you aren't, none of that other stuff makes any difference. So,
you felt good, right? You won a couple of All-Americans. You got a national championship. I'm from the U. I'm a Miami Hurricane, and we won't talk about the years in the '80s where we handled that business because you had told me that you guys beat us, but that was before we were the U. That was a little bit different.
Well, you hadn't grown up, when you were all doing my time, just like those young guys are. It takes time. It just takes a little time, but I tell you what, they may not have had a complete team, but they had some real good players back in those days.
Yeah, they had Chuck Foreman. Did he play in your time? Was Chuck Foreman? Was he Miami, right?
Oh yeah, Chuck. Yeah, Chuck. I think was maybe a year ahead of 2 years ahead of me.
Okay. Yeah.
2 years.
We had Otis Anderson. I know played Miami.
Now Otis is a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you something. That rascal there. Now we played together against each other when Otis was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one game Otis probably I think he told me it was the ball that when we got the ball back, they had fumbled. He fumbled it, and I didn't remember it or know it or anything like that. But hey, if you talk about all you got to do is say Otis Anderson to me, and that's talent there, man. That is talent, pure talent. Hey, and you talking about one of the greatest guys on the planet. Hey, he's awesome. He's totally